I don't remember the exact day I saw her, but I remember the sound. Soft laughter that floated across the campus. It was light, warm, and it made everything feel easier, like the world had a small secret just for me. That was the moment I realized my heart could feel something new, something that scared me, something that made me feel alive. People say first love is simple. I don't think that's true. First love is messy, confusing, beautiful. It doesn't come when you expect it. Sometimes it waits until you're older, until you think you already know everything. And then, suddenly, it finds you. I was 20 years old. I had just moved to the city for university, a big campus full of new people and new faces. I thought I was ready for it, but I wasn't ready for her. I first saw her in the library. She was sitting alone, reading, her hair falling softly over her notebook. Something about the way she focused made me stop walking for a moment. I didn't want to stare, but I couldn't look away. I walked past her. My heart was beating faster than usual. I told myself, don't be silly. She doesn't even know you exist. The next day, I saw her again, in the cafeteria this time. She laughed at something a friend said. It was quick, but it felt like the room lit up for a second. I smiled without realizing it. She noticed. She smiled back. From that moment, I started noticing her everywhere. In the park near campus, in the corridors between classes, even in the small coffee shop where I went every morning. She didn't know me, not really. But I felt like I already knew her. Her gestures, her laugh, the way she brushed her hair behind her ear when she was thinking. I wanted to talk to her. I didn't know what to say. Every time I tried, my words disappeared. I'd end up walking past, pretending I had somewhere to go. Weeks passed. I learned her schedule, without meaning to. I found myself sitting near her in the library, hoping she would look up. I borrowed books I didn't even need, just to have a reason to see her. And then one day, she smiled at me first. Not the small, polite smile, a full smile, the kind that makes your chest warm and your stomach twist in a good way. I froze. I didn't know what to do. So I smiled back. And in that moment, everything changed. I didn't know it then, but this was the start of my first love, and I had no idea how much it would change my life. After that smile, everything slowly changed. We began to talk. A little at first, just small things. About classes, about the weather, about the coffee in the campus cafe that was always too bitter. Her name was Leela. She said it with a shy laugh, as if it was nothing special. But to me, it sounded perfect. We started sitting together during lunch. At first, it was quiet, both of us pretending to be busy with our food. But then one small joke turned into laughter, and that laughter never really stopped. We walked around the campus garden after class. Sometimes we'd just talk about silly things, like what we would do if we had $1 million. Other times we talked about dreams. She wanted to travel the world. I wanted to write stories. She said, maybe one day you'll write one about me. I laughed. I maybe already am. Her eyes sparkled in the afternoon light. And in that moment, I wished time could freeze. On weekends, we met at the small park near the dorms. We'd sit under the big tree with yellow leaves falling all around us. She'd bring her guitar. I'd bring snacks. She wasn't the best singer, but her voice was soft, and it made even sad songs sound beautiful. Sometimes she'd laugh in the middle of a song, forgetting the lyrics, and I'd join her.
We laughed so much that people passing by smiled without even knowing why. When exams came, we studied together in the library. She'd write notes with colorful pens while I tried to stay serious, but she always found a way to make me laugh, even in silence. Once, she drew a tiny smiley face on my notebook and wrote, "Don't forget to smile during exams." I still have that page. There were days we didn't talk much, just sat near each other. Sometimes silence feels safe when you're with the right person. You don't need words to feel close. One rainy evening, we shared an umbrella. The rain was cold, but her hand brushed against mine, warm, soft, and trembling just a little. Neither of us said anything, but my heart was beating faster than it ever had before. Every day with her felt light. Every laugh, every small secret, it was like the world was brighter. She told me about her childhood, the small town she came from, how she missed her grandmother's garden. I told her about my family too, how I sometimes felt lost in the city, how everything felt new and strange until she came along. We became best friends, or maybe something more, but I didn't want to ruin it, so I kept my feelings quiet, hiding them under smiles and jokes. Every time I saw her, my heart beat faster. Every time she looked at me, I forgot what I wanted to say. But I never said anything, because sometimes silence feels safer than truth. It happened slowly, like morning light spreading across the sky. One day, I looked at her, and she didn't look the same anymore. Her laugh still made me smile, her voice still felt calm, but now, when she wasn't around, something felt missing. When I saw her walking towards me, my chest felt warm. When she looked away, it felt like winter. I didn't understand it at first. We were friends. That's what everyone said. But inside, it didn't feel like just friendship anymore. One afternoon, we sat by the campus lake. The sun was low, turning the water gold. She was quiet that day. I asked, "What's wrong?" She shook her head and smiled softly. "Nothing, just thinking." We watched the ducks float by, the air still and gentle. I wanted to say it then, to tell her what my heart was screaming, but my mouth stayed silent. Because what if she didn't feel the same? What if saying it changed everything? So I smiled and said, "Thinking too much is dangerous, you know." She laughed, and for a moment, I pretended that laugh was mine to keep. The next week, something changed. There was a new student in our class, a tall guy with easy confidence. His name was Ryan. He was funny, smart, and had that way of talking that made people listen. Lila seemed to like talking to him. They started studying together for one of the projects. At first, I told myself it was nothing. We were all friends, right? But every time I saw them laughing together, a small pain grew inside me. It wasn't big, just quiet, sharp, and constant, like a small stone in my shoe that I couldn't shake off. One day in the cafeteria, I walked over to sit with her, but Ryan was already there. She looked up and waved. "Hey, come sit with us." I smiled, but my chest felt tight. The three of us talked for a while, but every word felt heavy, every laugh felt forced. I could feel myself slowly pulling back, as if my heart was saying, "Careful, don't get hurt." That evening, she texted me, "You were quiet today. Are you okay?" I typed, "Yeah, just tired." But what I really wanted to say was, "I'm scared I'm losing you." Days passed, and I tried to act normal, but it was impossible. Her name filled my mind when I woke up. Her smile followed me through the day, and every night I wondered what she was thinking about. Was it me? Or someone else? One night, I stood by my window watching the city lights, and I whispered to myself, "This isn't just friendship anymore." It scared me. The depth of it, the way it made me feel alive and lost at the same time. Love can be both beautiful and cruel, especially when it lives in silence. A few days later, she came to me with excitement. "Ryan and I finished the project. He's really great to work with." I smiled. "That's good." But my heart didn't believe my smile. That night, I couldn't sleep. I replayed every memory, our jokes, our walks, her songs, her soft voice. Everything that felt like ours now felt like it might belong to someone else. And that's when I realized I wasn't just afraid of losing her. I was afraid of never telling her how I felt. I stared at my phone for hours, my fingers hovering over her name. One message could change everything. But what if it changed too much? So I closed my eyes and whispered to myself. I wanted to tell her how I felt. But should I? I don't remember the first thought that made me do it. Maybe it was the silence that became too heavy to carry. Maybe it was the fear of what if, the kind that follows you everywhere. All I know is that one evening, I decided I would tell her. The whole day, I couldn't focus. In class, the teacher's voice sounded far away. My notebook stayed blank. My hands were cold, even though the sun was warm. Every time I saw her, I rehearsed in my head, "I like you." Then I'd shake my head. Too short. "I really like you." Too serious. "You're my best friend, but also too strange." Nothing sounded right. How do you find the right words for something your heart barely understands? After classes, I waited outside the library. She always came out around 6. I could see my reflection in the glass, pale, nervous, pretending to be calm. And then, there she was. Books in her arms, hair falling across her face, the same easy smile that made my world quiet. "Hey," she said, noticing me. "Hey," I answered. My voice was small. We started walking. No real direction, just the slow kind of walk you take when you don't want the moment to end. It was late afternoon, that soft hour when the world turns gold. The wind was gentle, carrying the smell of rain. I tried to speak, but my words got stuck somewhere between my chest and my throat. She looked at me, a little curious. "You're quiet today. What's wrong?" I smiled weakly. I have something to say." Her eyes softened. "Okay, what is it?" I took a deep breath. The air felt heavy. My heart was beating so loud, I could almost hear it. For a moment, I thought of turning back, of laughing it off like I always did. But I didn't. I looked at her and said, quietly, "I like you." She blinked. I swallowed hard. Then I said it again, a little stronger this time. "I like you. I really like you." The words hung in the air, simple, trembling, real. She didn't speak at first. She just looked at me, her lips parting slightly, her eyes soft but unreadable. The silence stretched, and I could feel my hope rise and fall with every second that passed. Finally, she said, "Why did you wait so long to tell me?" My chest tightened. I was scared. I didn't want to lose what we already had. She smiled, that quiet, knowing kind of smile that hurts and heals at the same time. "You're silly," she whispered. Then she looked down and said, "I like you too." For a moment, the world stood still. No sound, no people, no city. Just her and me, standing under a sky that felt too beautiful to be real. Then it started to rain. Soft drops at first, then more. We didn't run. We just stood there, laughing like children, our clothes getting soaked, our hearts wide open. She reached for my hand, and when our fingers touched, it felt like every heartbeat I'd ever had finally made sense. I remember saying, "This feels like a dream." She laughed, "Then don't wake up." And I didn't want to. Not ever. That night when I got home, I couldn't stop smiling. Everything looked different, brighter, lighter, alive. I replayed the moment again and again in my head. Her voice, her hand in mine, the rain, the words, "I like you too." It was the simplest sentence I'd ever heard, but it changed everything.
That was the night my world became new. Not because I had finally said what I felt, but because, for once, my heart had spoken, and someone had listened. The days that followed felt like summer, even when it rained. We spent hours walking through small streets, laughing about things that didn't matter, sharing snacks after class, talking about dreams, hers, mine, ours. Everything felt new. The world looked softer. Even simple things. The sound of her voice, the way she tied her hair, the notes she left in my notebook, they made my heart full. I thought, so this is love. Love isn't always grand or loud. Sometimes it's quiet, like waiting for her message before sleeping. Sometimes it's patient, like listening to her talk about her day when I'm tired. And sometimes it's learning to say, "I'm sorry," even when I don't know if I did anything wrong. We were young and we made mistakes. Sometimes we fought over silly things, a forgotten message, a missed call, a word that came out wrong. But every fight ended the same way, with one of us whispering, "I don't want to lose you." One afternoon, as we sat under our favorite tree near the campus gate, she told me she had to move to another city. Her family was moving because her father got a new job. It was far, too far to visit often. I felt something sink inside me. It wasn't anger or sadness exactly. It was that deep, quiet ache you feel when you know something good might not last. We promised to stay in touch, of course. We said we'd call every night, send letters, visit during holidays, and for a while, we did. But life has its own way of testing promises. Classes got busy, schedules changed. Sometimes the calls came late, sometimes not at all. And little by little, silence began to fill the spaces where laughter used to live. I remember the last day I saw her before she left. She gave me a book, a small, old one with a note inside. It said, "Don't forget to live with heart." I still keep that book, not because of the words inside, but because of what it reminds me. That first love isn't about forever. It's about learning to feel deeply for the first time. Love teaches you courage, patience, and sometimes it teaches you how to let go. Even now, years later, when I think of her, I don't feel pain anymore. I feel warmth, a quiet smile inside me. Because first love, it doesn't always last, but it always leaves something behind. A lesson, a memory, a softer heart. And maybe that's enough. When I look back now, I realize my story wasn't just about falling in love. It was about growing up, about learning what it means to care for someone more than yourself, about understanding that love isn't always about keeping.
sometimes it's about cherishing. I've met many people since then. Different faces, different stories. But that first love, it stays. Like a quiet song that plays somewhere deep inside you, even when everything else has changed. Sometimes I still visit that old park when I go home. The tree where we used to sit is taller now. The bench has new paint. But if I close my eyes, I can still hear her laugh, soft and bright, like the world had a secret just for us. So if you're listening to this story right now, maybe you remember your first love too. The person who made your heart race, who taught you what it means to care, who helped you learn something about yourself. And even if it didn't last, that love made you who you are today. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and listen to more stories. Stories that help you learn English slowly, simply, and with feeling. Because language isn't just about words, it's about emotions. And every story, just like love, is another way to feel alive.